So you're starting off with the oldest guy still around. The oldest living Jacksonville punk.
So this is the first and arguably the most important JaxPunx episode that we're going to be doing. Today we have he's not going to tell you this, but I want to fucking say it, a punk rock legend here in Jacksonville. This guy was around at the very beginning, before there was a punk rock scene or even punk rock in Jacksonville at all. And here to talk about it is the one and only Thommy Berlin.
No pressure. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, if the shoe fits, you wear it, right? But anyway,
just a point. I was playing in Miami, Churchill's Hideaway, and they advertised the band as the legendary Thommy Berlin and Powerball. Mitch loved that.
Oh, I bet he did.
Yeah. And so I go to the club owner and said, so, hey, does this mean I get more money? And he goes, oh, no. No.
We're just trying to get more people.
So that's what what that word is worth. It's worth goose egg.
Well, shit, it's worth a lot to me. I remember meeting you in, I think it was about 1985 at Coconuts.
I believe
you were working at Coconuts, and I was trying to learn what punk rock was. I had a little feel of it, and I was looking for more.
Well, when I worked at the record store, this was a place where they used to sell these discs made out of vinyl that you put music on. And we used to be really into them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I worked at what was called the import part, right? Because that's where you had to go to get independent records. And punk rock at the time, although there were some, by 85, there were some bands that were signed. Clash got signed, for instance. Several new wave, what they called new wave bands got signed. They were actually just pop bands,
Yeah.
Pop bands with interesting haircuts.
Yeah.
That would have been more accurate. And I remember being finding Christian Death in like 80 when I first got here. Nobody had ever heard of them. And I remember getting that in at that record store. First goth record in town,
What did they do? I mean, because I remember I tried to order Dead Kennedys one time, and they said they wouldn't do it because it was a radical political group.
Then you didn't talk to me because that's why I would have gotten them.
Yeah.
And we got Dead Kennedys in. I mean, maybe this was when I had first started.
I think it was before you.
Oh, okay.
It was before you. Once I met you, I was like, oh, now I'm in.
Right.
I met somebody now.
But I would order all, I had like a goal to sell Fear, Dead Kennedys, X, any of those bands, at the time. It was my goal to sell those guys.
Yeah.
And
I think that was something you were talking about earlier, is that instead of, it was, long before the internet or cell phones or anything, and if you wanted to be in the punk scene, you had to be in the punk scene. You had to meet people.
Well, you had to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because you didn't, there weren't magazines, man. There was no there were no computers. There were no smartphones. Phones still, you could still have rotary phones, man.
We did. We had rotary phones in 85.
Right. And so what you would do is you'd see somebody with a cool haircut, and it was like, it was like water in the desert, It was like, oh my God, who do you listen to? And that's how you found, new guys, new bands to listen to check out. Because otherwise, where else would you? They didn't cover it in Rolling Stone. There wasn't, as far as national mags, there was Cream, Circus.
It was Blacklist.
No, there wasn't. Not then.
Not in 85.
Not then. New York, there was a probably the coolest zine that I saw back in those days. It was called Punk. And that was back when I lived in New York.
Yeah.
So I knew about the Ramones, but I think, as far as I remember, the very first punk I heard was the Damned. I'm pretty sure. It turns out the Damned were the first guys to tour in the United States. It wasn't the Pistols, you know, the first English band. But back then, people used to argue that punk was a British thing, and it was like, New York isn't in England.
They started at the same time.
I think you'll find the first punk rock record has the Ramones on the front of it.
Okay.
So there you go. But anyway, and in fact, Richard Hell's record came out before any British punk record, and that's still one that I play. I was just listening to Blank Generation the other day.
Yeah.
Great record.
So why did you start listening to punk? Why did you start listening?
I was looking for punk the whole time. I mean, seriously, man. I mean, I was listening to one artist that all punks agreed on back when it first started was David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
They all loved David Bowie. Everybody loved David. Well, I was a Bowie fan. I mean, I remember, I'm from Miami, Coconut Grove. There was a record store down there called Yardbirds.
Mm-hmm.
And Yardbirds had a gay guy at the cash register, and he would play The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust over and over and over. And so I heard it, and I think it was, you know, Suffragette City, something like that. But it was a song with a guitar in it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was nice. And I liked it, and I needed to find out who it was. And of course, from there, I listened to Man Who Sold the World, which was an even better record, in my opinion. And, you know, I was a Bowie fan from then on. And, I mean, all of the guys who were into glitter back then, they ended up being punk rockers.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of gay punk rockers back then.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because once you started a punk band, the only gigs you get in Florida were at Halloween at a gay club, you know.
Yeah.
That was fine with me. I needed the money, you know.
Absolutely. So what was the first album you ever bought? Punk album? Or stole?
Oh, I never stole anything in my entire life. First punk rock record I ever bought, it might have been Rocket to Russia. Either that or it was, I think it was Rocket to Russia. It was either that or the other Ramones album. But it was one of those. It was a Ramones record.
Super.
I had been in a music store. It's back when I was a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been in a music store and this guy was up. Oh, I hate that fucking punk shit. It's only 3-chord crap. And the guy behind the counter went, yeah, I remember them saying that about Jimi Hendrix. And the guy, you know, was like, he sort of hung his head and slunk out of the store. And I was like, that was cool what you just did. That was cool.
Mm-hmm. I see what you did there.
Yeah. And so,
because every generation, they've always got the, you don't do it the way we were supposed to. That's not right. You're not holding your mouth right when you talk.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Every generation, they're weak. They're worthless. They'll never amount to anything. We're doomed with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't go for that. I mean, I happen to love, you know, doo-wop. I still like doo-wop. I loved old rock and roll. Absolutely. And those insane fucking hillbillies doing a rockabilly back then, those guys were nuts, man.
Lewis.
Woo! Oh, my Lord. I mean, these guys, they were crazy. You do know that Goo Goo Muck, that song the Cramps covered, Goo Goo Muck, that was actually a 1950s song.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
This guy was... Anyway, so I loved all that stuff. And yeah, I liked the Beatles too. So, you know, any of those guys who went, oh, you can't like the Beatles and be punk, fuck you. What are you going to do? Tell me how to wear my pants next? Yes, they would. Oh, those pants aren't. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You can't wear army fatigues. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely didn't last long, did it?
Right. There, am I fine now?
Hell yeah! It looks like I saw this. I saw this one video of Johnny Depp getting his hair done, and they were purposely messing it up and holding it in the messed up fashion. I was like,
right.
Awesome! Way to go, man! You really look really super disheveled there.
Right.
It's amazing that it took so long to get there.
Yeah, and 3 guys. 3 guys. I think the left side of the hair needs to get a little more crunched.
Yeah. So, what was the first punk band you ever saw?
You wouldn't have heard them. They were one of the first.
Of course I wouldn't, because it was before I was around.
There was, in Florida, there were 3 punk rock bands. There was Roach Motel from Fort Lauderdale. There was the Panics from Fort Myers. Mm-hmm. And in St. Augustine, there were the Wads. Now, there were a couple other bands. There were the Chicklids and, I can't remember, but there were a couple other bands. Yeah. First punk band I saw in Florida, this was after I'd come back to Florida, because I was living in New York. Mm-hmm. Came back to Florida, got into college for acting, of all things. I'll tell you why in a minute. Anyway, there was a local band, a punk rock band. They were called the Panics. And I was like, I was losing my mind because I had just left New York and I was in Fort Myers, Florida. Talk about culture shock.
Son, I bet so.
I mean, you went from there were 5 different things happening tonight you wanted to go see to there ain't 5 things happening this year that you wanted to do. I discovered bourbon. That was the beginning of a long relationship we had. Me and bourbon, but the Panics, I remember seeing them, and they had some great stuff. They had a great show, and because it wasn't just band going up, we're gods, you're nothing. They involved the audience. They went out and got the audience. They had this one song where what you would do is for 15 seconds, Spencer, who's a singer, would hold the microphone in your face and say, "What's pissing you off?" And you would yell,
yeah. And
it was going, and you go one after another, and they were doing some vamp on stage, and it was great. This really gets under my skin, and so it went for like 5 minutes. Was this chaotic sound? It was beautiful, man. It was beautiful.
I can only imagine. Sounds great.
So in Powerball, when I was in Powerball, I contacted the Panics because I had to thank them for saving my sanity, for one thing. And plus, I had met them, So I got in touch with the guitar player, whose name at the time was Jason Slaughter.
Okay.
Was the guitar. His real name was Lloyd Sheehan. Anyway,
Close.
Lloyd, nobody ever called him Lloyd, but Jason was quite a good guitar player, and he wrote a song called Test Test, and I said, Jason, it would really be cool if you guys let me record Test Test, and we did, and I told him, we would make sure that they got their propers if we ever printed any, I said, but you'll always get your money from me, and he was like, well, that's cool, just send me a copy of it when you get done, so we did, and he heard it, and he goes, my God, man, you guys tore this song a new asshole. This is great. Tell you what, it's your song. Do whatever you want. You don't owe me a dime.
Wow. That's punk. That's punk rock.
And how?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, he may end up with another cover of that song because my new band is going to play it.
Nice. Since it's yours, you can do it anytime you want.
I can do anything I want with it.
So what was the first punk band you ever played in?
They were called the Puns, Puns, the Puns, and it was when I was in college for acting, not for music. Okay, the deal was I could get a full boat for theater or for music.
Mm-hmm.
if your choice was to hang out with actresses or hang out with music school girls, who would you hang out with? You're a 21-year-old, 20-year-old man, 19-year-old man. Who are you going to hang out with?
I'd say music girls.
No, dude, you're out your mind.
Why?
Because actresses put out.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
They're practicing their acting career, right?
Come on, man. I was a 20-year-old man. What was I interested in? Theater? Fuck you. I want to get laid.
Yeah.
You know? And plus, you know, you go to the music school, and what are they listening to but, you know, Spyro Gyrate or some kind of crap like that. It was really lame. It was like, look, you guys don't even know what good jazz is. See, I was raised with jazz. My dad was loving jazz. So I remember hearing, I mean, well, he liked singers. So he liked Dinah Washington and Billy, you know, just all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I remember hearing stuff like that. I was a fan of jazz when I was, before I knew how before I could operate a record player.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I listened to the stuff they were doing in school, it was like, this is lame. And it was lame.
Yeah.
They didn't want to know about Mahavishnu. They didn't want to know about Miles Davis. It was like, oh yeah, he's great. Useless sons of bitches.
Yeah, they were song you, but
yeah, right. They couldn't tell you kind of blue from it doesn't matter. So, the puns, and I'm still playing one of those songs. Yeah, it's a surf song. It's called Punishment.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a surf.
I love the pun.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, it was a surf instrumental, and my new band just worked it up. Yeah, and they love it, and I love it too. So of course, I like surf, you know.
That's awesome.
And
So why play punk rock? Why not play something that makes money?
You know, if I had it to do over again, no, bullshit.
I know you played on a cruise ship. You made money before.
Sure, I have. You want to talk about most money I ever made was playing drums in an Elvis band. Yep.
Wow.
I was in a band called Freddie T and the Okies. I had an orange polyester leisure suit, white turtleneck, white shoes.
Wow.
Make $500 in a weekend when I was in high school.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, buddy.
That was great money, man.
It was, yeah.
That's good money now.
Well, it's unheard of money now for, you know. But it was an Elvis show. Freddie, wow. the singer's name was Fred Tanner. Yeah. And he was good. He was a good Elvis guy, you know. But I'm telling you, those were the longest sets of my life.
How long would you do, like double sets and stuff?
They would do 3 or 4 sets a night.
Okay.
And it always felt like you were a third of the way through the second set. You know, it was like, oh God, get me a drink. Please, can I have a drink?
So where's the first punk show you ever played?
First punk show I ever played was at Edison Community College in Fort Myers.
Wow. Who were the people in the band?
Bass player's name was Scott Lade, and the drummer's name was John something.
So it was 3-piece?
Yeah. Almost every band I've ever been in has been a trio.
Yeah.
You know, or a trio with a singer.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of strange. But that's just how it worked out, you know. So when I decided to go for this band here, my new band, I was going to do what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to have more than 3 guys.
Yeah.
You know, we have 6.
You got horns or what?
No, 2 drummers.
Nice.
Yeah, buddy.
Everybody's trying to find a drummer, and you got 2. That's
Suppa.
awesome. Fuck yeah.
2 good drummers too. Matt Norman's a great drummer. So is Pete. You know, I mean,
okay.
They're both good. And where we're going to end up?
Set or what?
Say Say it again.
Is one a percussion set, like a?
No, 2 drum sets.
So just straight up drum sets.
You know it,
Okay.
man. It sounds like it. You know how a drummer can sound like a train.
Mm-hmm.
You get 2, it sounds like 2 trains. You know. Oh, yeah, buddy. It's big. It's very big, and
That's
you know.
awesome.
Then with me as a guitar player, you know, I mean, you know, everybody knows me. I play nicely and quietly and
Yeah,
very
you're really
melodic.
subtle.
And
Very
very-
subtle.
That's me.
You've always been known for your subtlety.
Truly,
Yeah,
and
that's
by-
what first drew me to you. It's because you were that guy standing over in the corner,
You're
not
right.
saying nothing to anybody. So who came to the first show? Was it a scene or what?
It was students,
Yeah.
and half of the students were loving it, and the other half would run through the student hall to get away from it.
Plugging their ears, running out the door.
That's pretty much what it was, you know.
Did they charge a cover or was it free?
It was free. It was put on by the school for entertaining the students.
Yeah.
And but we got paid. I think we got $250 or something like that. Which
They used to pay people back then. Huh?
yeah, man. I made way more money in the 70s and the early 80s than I made later.
Yeah.
I mean, Stevie Stiletto made some good money, but it was rare.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made money occasionally since then. But, you know, if you don't have a record deal, people are less inclined to sit there and pay attention to you
Yeah.
because you haven't been industry approved. I always thought that was bullshit anyway because, you know, the industry hated musicians, still do.
Yeah.
But you know.
So what was the first proper punk show that you played at a club?
Oh, in a bar, you mean? For
Yeah, a bar, club.
well, it would have been that would be a band called Euthanasia, and we toured Florida.
Yeah.
And we played in Tampa was our best place to play. The name of the club was London something, like London Bridge.
London Bridge. Yeah, I think there was a place called London Bridge.
I don't
Seems like.
remember. So we played there. We played Buffalo Roadhouse, which was this dive of a bar.
Yeah.
But we had a lady singing whose name was Deb, and Deb had a great voice, still has a great voice. She's been doing women's music for the last 20 years. She has a band, it's spelled Halcon, but they call it Halcyon.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, let's just arrive at a pronunciation, please.
Yeah.
But they're great. They're absolutely great. I mean, you want to hear some harmonies that'll just knock your shoes off.
Hmm.
You know, check them out. Anyway, so she was singing, and we were doing stuff like we did a cover of "I Don't Care About You," you know.
Yeah.
And she was singing it, you know.
Nice. Oh hell yeah, some Fear, huh?
Yeah, the covers we did a Fear song, but most of the covers we did were X because we were all fans of X.
Okay.
And
Did you play originals or just covers?
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
We've always done originals.
Yeah.
And you know, we put out an EP and it sold pitifully. I mean, like I think we made 100 of them and 50 cassette tapes, and I think we sold them. At least I didn't have any. I don't have any now. And
Yeah.
anyway, so there was that.
What was the standard cover charge back then?
I don't know idea. I didn't.
$5 or something?
I never cared about the business. I still don't.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. You guys deal with that. You know.
Yeah. Handle your business.
I don't care. I just don't care. I'm not money motivated. I've never been money motivated. You know.
Hence the
haven't
playing in
been.
punk bands.
Well, it was more a matter of trying to do something to deal with what I saw, the stuff going on. And I mean, you have to remember when I was a boy, when I was 7 years old in Miami, Florida, in South Miami, there was this drugstore, drug counter kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had those water fountains, you know, white only, black only.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
First time I ever made my dad laugh happened right there because what I did was I went over to the water fountains and I switched the signs.
Hell yeah! Ah, that's awesome.
First time I ever made him laugh. He thought that was the funniest thing that ever happened.
Hell yeah. That's badass.
And we used to build model airplanes, you know, when I was a kid. And he bought me my first really nice airplane model that day.
Yeah.
So
he was proud of you.
Yeah, obviously it's stuck in my head ever since.
So what was the most fun show you've ever played?
The next one.
The next show?
The next one.
And where was it?
The next one. The next show I've got. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know where it's going to be. But that's going to be the most fun I ever had.
Oh, shit. So, I mean, but this is a history thing. So what's the one you're thinking back?
All right. I've not often. It was not a thing for me, but I've worn drag twice.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I don't understand why women wear high heels. They are fucking crazy. You know?
I can imagine.
I mean, I wore high heels from where I put them on in the bedroom to the end of the hallway, and I said, fuck you. And that was it. You know? And how hard it was to get high heels that I could fit in.
Yeah.
Right? They don't make men's 10D high heels.
They do now, but they didn't then.
They didn't. Thing that was troubling was, you know, the nets were really sexy. I really enjoyed that. You know? But here's the truth, man. I mean, and I don't personally, I don't care if you could call it pity, but I got laid both times. So there you go. Yeah, it might have been, oh my God, that poor guy. You know, it still counts.
He understands.
Right.
I get it, totally.
And so that was really fun. There was this one time where we were playing with subhumans. Playing with the subhumans in Tallahassee. And some dipstick skinhead was, you know, slamming. And he hauled off and punched this girl who was doing that skank thing, you know, that skank thing they did. She was just doing that, you know, having a good time.
Still do it, yeah.
And he punched her out.
Knocked her smooth out.
Yeah, I saw it. You don't do that to him, especially not to my audience. Somebody watching us. And this was, I guess, it was Steve Splitter. And so I waited till he come around. And I had a Telecaster. You know what they say about a Telecaster? You can use that as a weapon and still have an instrument to play. Guess what? That's true.
It is true.
Because I knocked him clean out. He was coming around this way. Bap!
Nice.
He had these impressions of the volume knob on his head.
Oh, wow. You hit him with the knobs, huh?
I hit him with the front of the guitar.
Not the edge. Ooh.
Oh, I'm going to kick your ass. Bring it, you fucking little pansy.
That's the idea, dickhead.
Yeah.
Punch a man.
Yeah. See what happens.
You don't get to punch women this time.
See what happens.
Yeah. I may be a drag, but I'm not a woman.
Well, I wasn't. It didn't happen that often. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy wearing ladies' clothing. First of all, it's hard.
Yeah.
Second of all, trust me, it wasn't pretty. It really wasn't.
Ain't none of us look pretty in women's clothing.
Dude, some people do. I'm just not one.
Not me or you. I'm saying us.
There you go. I didn't. I mean, I know that for fucking certainty.
So what's the most fun show you ever saw?
Oh, God. I mean, come on, man. I mean, there were shows. There were shows that were just. X played a show they were phenomenal. I had never seen a band that tight and that powerful before.
Yeah.
And they had just put out it was 80, 82, 83. They had just put out the album that Hungry Wolf, and they were about to put out the next one, More Fun in the New World.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally got to Florida, you know, so, you know, we all went, and that was a great show. I saw a couple of rednecks get their asses kicked by a guy who looked like a stretched David Bowie. He had David Bowie's haircut, and it was first time I ever saw somebody do a reverse kick.
Oh, so he was a karate guy.
Yeah, they didn't know that, neither did we, but we were in the van doing the pre-show traditional thing that musicians used to do in those days.
Uh-huh.
And so we see this going.
Talking about what was going to happen, how you were going to do stuff.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, going over the game plan.
Right. Yeah. And so anyway, we open the van, smoke, bottles, beer cans, get out, and this guy's picking up his high heels walking into the club. And there's these two rednecks just out. And I couldn't help it. As we got to him, I said, "Hey, man, that guy in drag just kicked your ass. I bet you feel bad, huh? You gonna tell your friends that a homo kicked your ass?
Both of your asses at the same time." He double kicked him.
Fuck you. Spitting blood.
Nice. That's fucking awesome.
Dumbass.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You don't go up to strangers and voluntarily get into a fight. You got no idea.
Yeah.
This guy might look like you outweigh him and you're taller than him and everything else. Could still kick your ass.
Well, that's one of the problems is they underestimate walking up. And then if you're going to be walking around in drag in 1982,
yeah,
you do know how to fight.
Well, you're whether you know it or not, you're going to be fighting.
Yeah, you do know how to fight. Yeah. You ain't walking around
like
that for long.
But back then, punks would get in a fight. Walking down the street, minding your own fucking business. I used to get called Devo fag.
Yeah.
The fuck is a Devo fag?
That's the only word they knew. I used to
get
the same
fag.
Shit.
Fuck you.
I used to get the same shit. We were in the mall one time, and I had a friend. He had a mohawk, and we're sitting there in the little food court, and these guys come up looking like, I don't know, whatever, fucking mullet wearing kids, and you're like, "So what's up with that hairdo, man? You fucking gay or something?" And they're like, we started laughing at it. We were like, "Man, that's silly, man. You're really ridiculous." But there was like 4 of them, and there was 2 of us. But we're in a public place. I'm like, "Oh, man, this is not going to work. This is just not going to work, man. How are we going to, we're not going to be able to beat you up." And so we're just
Are you sure that was a fight, or were they like looking for a date?
I don't know. It seemed like they were looking for a fight because we were laughing, and then they were like, getting upset and angry, right? And
you could still be either way.
About that same time, probably within 5 minutes, a bunch of goth people came from out of nowhere. I have no idea where they came from, but they came like out of the woodwork and just gathered and sat right at the table with us, and we're standing behind them, and there was like 10 of them. And there's 4 of these guys. Now there's 12 counting us, and they're looking around, they're going, and then the goth people go, "Are these guys giving you a hard time?" I was like, "No, man, they were just leaving." And then they left. See, and then we met some friends.
Right. See,
we met some friends.
You could have been a real asshole just then, and you weren't. That was cool.
Yeah. I wanted to give them a pass, man, because they didn't know.
Yeah. See, we in Jacksonville. All right, so I moved to Jacksonville, and I get in this band. I wasn't gonna do. It's a long story. Anyway, so I get in this band called Stevie Stiletto and the Switchblades, which I thought was a funny name. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so they give me this tape of their stuff, and it was pretty good, man. Mm-hmm. They had some funny songs. They had this one. They had this one called Switchblade. I don't want to be gay no more.
I just want to be a 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was funny, man. I was like, this is great. A band with personality. Yeah, I can do this. And this was after I'd switched from being a drummer. I'd been a guitar player in the last 3 bands. In fact, I've always been, in punk rock, I've always been a guitar player. I never played drums. No, I did. I played drums in one punk rock band, but that was later. Anyway, and so I got in this band, and, my God, man, some of those early shows were crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. There was this club called the Blighted Area,
Uh-huh.
and some of the things that went on, man. Wow, you know. I mean, Mike Butler is a really great guy. He's still around. He's in San Francisco, and he's in a band called the Butlers, and he's playing in about 10 other bands, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Butler's always done that.
Yeah.
He's, you know, apart from his politics, because he's, as far as politics is concerned, but everything else, Mike's as great a guy as he's always been.
Yeah.
Rob, who's the drummer, is the opposite. He's always been an asshole. He's still an asshole. He's in a cross-dressing metal band down in Lauderdale, and I saw like a YouTube video or something somebody sent me, and it was embarrassing. It was just awful.
The music is bad?
Oh, it's terrible. Rob can still play. I'll say this. Rob's always been a good drummer.
Yeah.
Just the rest of it's hard. And, you know, then you got Ray. And Ray was a casualty waiting to meet his end from the minute I met him till he finally passed away. Yeah. And we wrote a lot of good music together. And I wrote a lot of music in Stevie Stiletto. It's one of the things that's been frustrating is as long as Ray was still doing Stevie Stiletto, I was all about them doing songs that I had written. You know, hell yeah, that's what I wrote those songs for, and they were still doing them, and they were, you know, generally Ray had good bands, and some of them were great, you know, and so I never said anything about it. I was like, yep, yeah, man, you play those songs, you go. And so, you know, people would come up to me when I would play them, and they go, well, really love that cover song you did, that Steve Stiletto cover song. And it was like, dude, I wrote that song. It's not a cover.
Yeah.
You know? And,
it's kind of messed up.
What's messed up is records like Food for Flies, which took a year of my life to make. A year. I mean, going down to St. Augustine, trying to figure out how to scrape together $10 for fuel to get down there.
Did DeVito do it?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, DeVito did all the Stevie Stiletto stuff. Okay. Anyway, so, you know, and they say that record has ended up moving like 20,000 units. And there's a series, I think, radio station. Mm-hmm. They say that they sold that kind of numbers, and I'm like, how do you figure that? We never printed 20,000 copies. Why?
So what are they buying? Digital downloads or something?
Downloads. People making, I guess it'd be pirated copies of the thing and selling them. Okay. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say, man. I mean, you know, I still doubt it. I mean, I can't see how we do that. The record that they say we sold the most of was It's a Bogus Life. Mm-hmm. And Rat Town Records wants to re-release that. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah, is it tied up in some kind of legalese or anything?
What legalese? It's mine.
Okay.
Mine.
Yeah.
I wrote those songs. I never signed that stuff away.
Okay.
You know, I mean, so, you know, somebody wants to fight me for it, yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because you know you wrote it.
Of course I did. Mm-hmm. You know, and I mean, the record's been out since 1985. Yeah. You know, that's called, believe it or not, that's called publishing. If you go out and you perform a song or you record the song, you published it. Yeah. You don't need to send it to yourself in a letter. I mean, how many people know that I was playing, you know, Authority on Thrash or whatever in 1985? A lot of people, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to make sure that Butler gets paid and Jimmy gets paid, and I wouldn't mind getting paid a little myself.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I'll get it. I'm going to make sure those two do that.
Yeah, get some money, man. What the hell?
You know, I suppose that, you know, if you know, some money ends up with Rob back at Sell, I suppose that'd be fair.
Butler deserves it, but Rob doesn't.
One of the reasons Food for Flies took a year to mix is because Rob decided to detune his snare drum so that it sounded like blood. So every single song we had to invent or fabricate a snare drum sound. And it's not like it is today.
So what does a blood sound? What does blood sound like? A splash? Like it's smacking into blood? Is that what it
just sounds
smacking blood on a tile floor?
It sounds like somebody put some loose snares on a bass drum.
Okay.
It's awful. It was just awful.
Mm-mm-mm.
You know, we ended up fabricating a snare drum sound with a Yamaha SPX90 and anyway.
Just dubbing something in?
No, using the snare drum as a trigger.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And
so back then you could do that?
You see, you couldn't. We had to invent that kind of stuff. And that's why it took so long.
That's why I was wondering how you would do it. I mean, you'd be sitting there, okay, here's the snare, and then just... You just overdub it.
This is what you do. You run the signal, right, through Yamaha SPX90 is a reverb tank, and you have your choice of pink noise or white noise. So you use pink noise.
Okay.
You tighten that thing down so that it only goes right?
Okay.
And then you limit, compress, so that all you're using is the snare drum track to trigger this noise generation device.
Okay.
And that's how we got a snare drum sound off of it.
Out of a reverb tank. Because the sound wave would move the tank and make the sound.
Right.
So you'd like stick the speaker up to the reverb tank. That's incredible. And you made a trigger out of it. That's badass.
It would have been a hell of a lot easier if somebody had invented digital recording back then.
Yeah, because now you just put a trigger, just touch a trigger to it.
Okay, take that out.
You can make the snare drum sound like an oboe if you want.
Whatever you want. So, there you go.
Yeah, I want the snare to sound like an elephant trumpeting.
One of the things, right. One of the things that Stevie Stiletto did that I really am proud of him for doing, we had a band room over on Delwood in Riverside.
Yeah.
And we decided that what we would do is we would invite some of the guys we met, you know, touring and stuff, to come and play.
Mm-hmm.
So we started doing that. And, you know, we'd done it a couple times, and we decided we needed to call it something.
Uh-huh.
Being very clever, creative guys, we decided to call it the 7:30 Club.
Yeah.
Because it was at 7:30 Delwood.
That's right.
You know, woo!
That's good. I mean, it makes sense. The 9:30 Club, the 7:30, 5:40.
Funny, oddly enough, we didn't find out about 9:30 Club until after.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we found out, I mean, obviously, but that was after that. Anyway, we were able to bring all kinds of guys to Jacksonville who never would have stopped here otherwise. I mean, you know, Black Flag and Meat Puppets and, I mean, Toxic Reasons, DOA.
Didn't Septic Death come too?
Yes, and Raw Power and...
The Infinite Sea Snakes.
Impotent Sea Snakes.
Impotent Sea Snakes?
Yeah, but we've been doing shows with those guys since first 2 months I was in the band. Wow. We played with them when they were still a very bent ska band with a trombone.
Wow.
They had a song called Suck My Dick, I want Tom Paul to suck my dick.
Fuck yeah.
Then when they moved to Atlanta, they got this club called Masquerade at 3 different floors.
Mm-hmm.
And they became basically a sex act. Not a band very much anymore.
Huh.
And so I go into this show that they're doing. I walk in, and it's an orgy. I mean, it's an orgy going on. There's nobody on stage. There's a stage, but the people who are on stage aren't playing instruments. They're playing with each other.
Wow.
You know? And I'm like, this is kind of a crazy gig.
Yeah, so it was basically just a name for a
Whatever.
down low sex club.
More or less. But I played there too. You know, we played there. Let's see, 7:30 Club. Yeah, so I mean, we were able to bring guys to Jacksonville that would never have played here otherwise.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it was sometimes it was tough. You know, sometimes it was one of the funny things. Some skins moved. Nazi skins moved to Jacksonville from San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they basically got thrown out of San Francisco, got thrown out of Phoenix, got thrown out of Texas, got thrown out of every hole they ever tried to go into.
Mm-hmm.
They got thrown out of. They got thrown out of here too. You know, the police just said, "Look, you guys can stay if you want to go to prison."
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
I remember the San Francisco skins. Yeah.
Well, what they didn't know, they went after Butler first.
Uh-huh.
They didn't know about Mike because Mike's an Italian. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So were the rest of us. You want to talk to us about a gang?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, I have my skinhead odysseys as well.
Everybody did who was around back then. I
Yeah.
mean, you actually, but see, fighting because you were in a punk rock, that wasn't anything new.
No, you went there expecting it.
Or, you know, if it happened, you know,
Yeah.
but fuck you, I'm going to have a good time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And usually we did.
Yeah.
Usually we did.
Yeah.
And, my God, you're talking to me about the questions, you know, what's your most fun? I mean, good God, man. I remember seeing a couple of Devo shows, and they were great. X was great.
Yeah.
DOA was great. There's so many shows. I mean, I've seen Devo 4 times. 3 times. No, 4 times. That's right, because I just saw them when they came back through with Blondie.
Mm-hmm.
That was in St. Augustine, and Blondie was the band that used to be Blondie, right?
Uh-huh.
And look, I love Deborah Harry. How could you not love Deborah Harry?
I can't imagine how anybody could.
Well, she was such a sweetheart. You know? But Diva, they kicked some ass, son. It was like, these guys, yeah, they're older than I am, and they put on a high energy, powerful, tight show. And it wasn't about, these are all the hits we used to play for the nostalgia crowd. Because fuck nostalgia. You know?
Yeah. So what did they play?
They played all kinds of stuff. What Devo would do in their shows, they would always start with the new stuff and then devolve to their early stuff.
Okay.
Did the same thing here. And it was better than the Oh No, It's Devo tour, which is the one I had seen before that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was as good as the New Traditionalist tour, because that was pretty good. It was a long one, too. But it was a great show.
I like that Mr. DNA.
Great song.
Oh, man, that's so awesome.
Anyway, they're still playing, so, you know. But, I mean, I've seen all kinds of people. I remember seeing Deep Purple, and they were Ian Gillan singing, you know, way back when. You know, and, I mean, my God.
What about Agnostic Front?
Okay. I played shows with Agnostic Front, a show with Agnostic Front and Stevie Stiletto, and the singer said, "We're not going to play the next song till there's blood in the pit." To which my answer was, "Well, get your ass in the fucking pit and come here.
Yeah.
You want some blood in the pit? Let's put your blood in the pit, buddy."
Yeah.
See, I don't go for that. I don't go for that violent stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't
and-
either now.
Well, good. Then they've grown up, and I need to listen to them again because I'm still operating off 1986.
Yeah.
Was when I heard that,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and I like their music, but fuck, you know, I don't like violence for no reason.
Yeah. First band I ever saw was Brutal Assault. First band I ever saw. Punk band or not, that was the first band I ever saw was Brutal Assault.
Isn't that whack?
Yeah.
You know who gave Brutal Assault their first gig? Stevie
7:30?
Stiletto.
7:30 Club?
You know it.
Yeah.
You know, Billy Hughes and all. Billy's still around.
Yes, he is. He's running around somewhere.
Yeah, man. I don't know if he's still singing. I hope he is, because he always
I don't
had a
think he
great
is.
voice.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
That's too bad. That's
Yeah.
too bad.
I don't know about Blaine either. Blaine Cruz.
He's out. He's in Georgia, isn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's living in Georgia. You know, but I don't know what he's up to. But you got to remember, man. I mean, the numbers of guys who are still playing punk rock, who were playing back in the 70s.
You're the only one I know of. It's still around.
Oh, good. Well, I did my best to cut out early, I swear, you know.
Yeah, you did.
You know.
You damn sure tried, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, we both tried that, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Together sometimes.
The guy from that band in Miami, whose singer just died, he's still around, but he's not really playing anymore. Of everybody who's still around,
You're talking about Load, are you?
Oh yeah,
that was a long time ago.
Yes, yeah. The drummer Falso. He's still around, but you know, guys who are still playing. I mean, you know, Danny, you know, which there's a lot of guys from the second, third generations on.
Yeah, we were after you. We were. Yeah. Or I was. I don't know about Danny, but I was definitely after you.
Well, the Creeps' first record was 86,
yeah,
85,
we started
86.
In 88.
You know, so anyway, you know, but the deal was, I mean, it's just an accident of birth that I was around in the 70s to play that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, think about it yourself. You turn on the radio and you hear disco and the Eagles. Yeah. And then you put on this record and you hear the Ramones or the Clash or the Pistols or Elvis Costello or the Cramps or Richard Hell, and it's all different, it's all powerful, it's all passionate.
Yeah.
It's all real.
I know, that's what grabbed me. And I always somehow intuitively knew that there was something else out there. Yeah. I was like, there's got to be something other than this. There's something missing here. Yeah. There's something missing, and I didn't know. I'd buy a Molly Hatchet album because it had that cover. I was like, look at this shit here, man. Oh, man, this is going to be badass. I'd take it home and play it. What the fuck are they doing? Yeah. What is that? When I'm rambling down the road and I'm like, that ain't what that fucking picture looks like.
And he wasn't flirting with disaster either. He was flirting with big business.
Yeah.
And I'm flirting with big business.
Yeah. And I started discovering, I went to the import section.
We need to write that one.
I'm flirting with big business.
Flirting with big business.
Trying to make some money, yeah.
And you know they didn't. They got so ripped off, those guys.
Well, they couldn't even play anymore, right?
Yeah. Well, I was friends with Banner, who's the bass player from that band. I met all of them.
Yeah, they can't play anymore because
who cares?
Somebody else.
They couldn't play when they were playing.
Yeah, but somebody took their rights to their music, and they just went out and started playing it.
Yeah, whatever. You know, look, look. You know, it's Ray signed a contract that wasn't good. Mm-hmm. All right, I told him not to. I said, Ray, don't sign this contract. It's usury. He didn't know what that meant. Right. I tried to explain it, but he signed it anyway because he didn't care. See, Ray didn't care. He just wanted to. He just wanted to keep it going. Yeah. He just wanted to put out another show, another song, one more. That's what he wanted, was one more than he had. Yeah. And that's why he signed that contract. He knew it wasn't a good contract. I know because I was there. Yeah. You know, and I mean, Ray used to use me as sort of like a cattle prod to keep Frankie in line. Mm-hmm. Right? Look, Frankie's a great guitar player. You'll never hear me say anything about Frankie that doesn't start off with, he's a great guitar player. Do you know why? Because he's a great guitar player. Yeah. That's why. You know, his politics is this, is that. I don't give a damn. Yeah. You know, my relationship with Frankie is about music.
Yeah, first things first.
Because he's a musician. Mm-hmm. And he is a musician. And look, Frankie got signed before anybody did. He was in a band called The Attitudes, right? Uh-huh. Great song, 10 Pound Grudge, by the way. And they were in the big boardroom with the big oak table, right? With lines of cocaine going up and down, and money just being thrown at, blowing their nose on the fucking $100 bills, and they don't. That's how close. That's how close he was to it. And next thing that happens is Capricorn goes belly up because the fucking guy snorted a record company's worth of money.
That oak table. Yeah.
And it was gone. And the attitudes were gone. They never got that contract. I think Frankie's been angry about that ever since. Now, I don't blame him. I understand being angry about that.
I can understand being angry about it, but not staying angry at it.
Well,
gotta let it go.
But see, that's is he in it for the money? Is he in it for the success, being a rock star? I never wanted to be a rock star. I still don't want to be a rock star. I think that's fucking stupid. I want to be a rock star. Fuck you.
Yeah. We have not pursued any label at all.
Well, if you would,
why we would.
Because, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to be pursuing a label with this band because this is going to be my last band. I'm telling you right now, this is Thommy Berlin's Big Unit is going to be my last band. And the reason is because I'm old, man. I'm old. I mean, I'm not going to be Keith Richards' age sounding half as good as he used to sound. It's not going to happen, man.
Okay. So you're going to go out on a high note.
I'm going to try to. And so I'm going to pursue getting that contract because I need the support. I need to have tour support. And I want to be able to put this music and this band in front of people because I want one more show, one more show, one more gig, one more record, one more recording, one more song.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And that's why I'm after it. I mean, everything I'm doing right now has that as my focus. As you know, I went through some very bad physical times here a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I got huge. I mean, look, you get an infection in your spine that incapacitates you for a year.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, you were fucked up.
Yeah, man. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Could not move. Could not stand up. Could not lay down. Could not sit down. The only position I could get comfortable in was on this side with this leg over and it had to be a love seat, not a couch.
I remember you on the love seat.
And it was the only, and
sideways.
Right.
Like the reclining Buddha.
And, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was, if I just took the ibuprofen and the pain meds that I could get, that's another story, but anyway, and then I could fall asleep. But I wouldn't stay asleep, I'd be asleep for a couple of hours.
You don't fall asleep on opiates anyway.
Right.
Not for any length of time.
But anyway,
And in pain. So
oh yeah.
The combination of the two.
Very bad.
An hour at a time.
So I ended up, just ballooning up, fatter than I've ever been. But I'm down 33 pounds, man. So
Fuck yeah.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
Right? I mean, look, they can knock you down. It's your decision whether or not to stay there.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna keep me down, man.
Yeah. I can't imagine anybody paying me enough money to leave. I mean, everybody in the band's pros. They're all professionals.
Yeah.
They couldn't pay us enough to leave, to go on tour.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to pay me enough to leave because, it's got to happen.
Yeah, guys and that's why I like seeing the young kids coming up. They don't have anything. They're living with their parents. They're like,
that's
do
kids.
Do it.
But that's kids.
Do it.
Do
it, man. Keep fucking playing.
If you have an opportunity to do a punk rock van tour once in your life, for God's sakes, do it.
If I can get off time and we can all put it together and this and that, but I can't see needing a label to do that.
Well, I can. I got 7 people in my band.
You need a big ass band too.
But see, that was the point. It's as I said earlier, it's called Thommy Berlin's Big Unit.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the drummer's idea.
It's a fucking awesome name, man. I love it.
I didn't want the name. I mean, if you put your name in the band, like Radio Berlin
Oh, yeah.
or Thommy Berlin and his big head, which I like, by the way, I like that name. People will automatically assume you're the leader, and it's like,
oh, come on, you are the leader.
I hope that we're a democracy.
All right, so every democracy has to have a president. You can be a democracy all you want.
All right.
The band I play in is a democracy where I have one vote.
Everybody's got one vote.
I've got
in this
one
band.
vote.
In fact,
That's
when
it.
it comes to songs, everybody's got the veto. Why you said veto? You just say veto, and that means that song's gone. You never have to play it again.
Ooh, we don't have that.
We do. We do.
They die of natural causes anyway.
Usually, if it's good enough to get you there, get to the rehearsals, it's probably good enough to play.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing kind of, it's weird. We're doing a 50-50 thing right now where we do original song and a version of a song.
Okay.
Original and a version. In fact, our first single, we already know what the first single is going to be. Our singer Nick, she's percussion singer thing. She said this is a song she thinks we should do, and you know, she's also a fine artist. Look, when you've got people with talent, listen to them.
Oh yeah.
You know, they will make you better.
That's right.
And so,
yeah, that's why everybody has an equal vote in the band I play in. They're
exactly.
all equally
Well,
talented.
look, you just played me some of your stuff, man. Hey, people, if you have a chance to hear Rob's band Left on High, do it. Anyway, yeah, but you guys are good. You know, you guys are good.
JaxPunx!